This is Marcus the Fingaz. I'm a music producer, composer, focusing on sync licensing and trailer music. I do work full time by day for an international nonprofit and then focus on music by night after spending time with family, walking the dog. And this is an episode of the Syncrets To Success podcast. This is a podcast focusing on talking about sync licensing, music, things like that. Nigel and Native's Music, thank you for tuning in on Instagram. Come on over to YouTube where you can watch this live. I'm going to share some resource shortly. So come on over to YouTube, join the live, and I'll be screen sharing shortly. This episode of the Syncrets To Success podcast is episode 80, and I launched this podcast about a year ago, maybe September. And the way I launched this was crazy. I recorded 30 episodes back to back, all in 1 month, one episode per day. And I uploaded an episode each day, but I didn't tell anyone the podcast was launched until a month later. So I already had 30 episodes when I launched the podcast. And now we're at episode 80. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you tuned in for one episode or all 80 episodes. But what I'm going to review today here on YouTube is the platform that I actually found today while researching music supervisors. I was trying to do some research on a music supervisor, get some insight into sort of their thinking and things like that. Before we get into that, this podcast is sponsored by the great team over at ASTS. They provide great libraries, VSTs, and sounds for us music creators to use. They have some really great horror sounds also. I got to do a whole episode about ASTS because they do provide some great sounds for us music creators. So this episode, I'm going to talk about a platform, and also check the description because I have some other links. You can check out the Facebook group I have, the community. We're getting close to 3,000 members now. People focus on sync licensing. We have music supervisors in there. We have sync libraries. We have sync agents. We have all kinds of people in the Facebook group. Check that out. The link will also be in the description, and also some resources that I use for sync. Chris Pratt Music, thank you for tuning in. Jump on over to YouTube. You can see the video that I'll be sharing shortly of this resource. So getting right to it, sort of. And also thank you everyone for supporting our daughter. She didn't win the scholarship competition she was in for the short story she wrote. She got some great feedback. We thought she won based on the feedback she got. But she did come back with some money from Vegas, not from gambling, but she did win some scholarship money from the NAACP. So shout out to the NAACP for that. All right, I'm going to jump into this platform here on YouTube. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm not using my normal OBS setup. I'm using Restream. Shout out to Restream. So hopefully this works, and you can see my screen here on YouTube. You got to be on YouTube to see what I'm sharing. And I'm sharing this platform called Listen Notes. A.News hit. Thank you for tuning in. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. Click the link, come on over to YouTube, join the YouTube. So I'm sharing this platform here. It's called Listen Notes, and I'm going to show you or tell you how I found this today. I was doing some research because I am connecting more directly with music supervisors as opposed to, I still work with some great and incredible libraries and sync agents, but also going directly to music supervisors with my music that I'm creating for their projects. And I was doing research on a music supervisor, and somehow this site came up to share episodes that music supervisor was on different podcasts. So I'm going to show you how to use this. It's called Listen Notes, and you can use it basically. I don't know what it resources or what it sources for podcasts, if it sources all the podcasts or what kind of algorithm it's doing. But for example, if I do sort of the vein search here and I type in my name, and I haven't done much of this. If I type into Fingaz and I just click the search up here, and I'm nobody, so it'll probably, I'm not going to log in. I'm not a robot, so I guess I am somebody. Let's see what shows up. Okay, so there you go. You start seeing my name pop up, pause. So the Fingaz. So you can see the podcast that episode that I've been on. Some of these I've actually forgot about. Sticky Fingaz, that's not me. The Fingaz, that is me. So let me type in actually, let's see, they put Marcus the Fingaz minute. So let me put in, let's see if it'll do this. You can see all of my messages popping up. Let me put that on Do Not Disturb right now because you might see some stuff show up that should be confidential. Oh, well, it is what it is. Life is life. So I am showing up here. Sync Gems, I just did that a couple months ago. Follow Your Dream, I also did that earlier this year. I have the Make Music Income, Josh Spector. So all the podcasts and stuff. This is not me. So I got to figure out how to. I've been trying to get this person not to show up in searches. This is not me. So ignore this one. I'm not a wanted or convicted man or arrested. But all the music stuff is basically me. And then starts going down the rabbit hole of some other stuff. But what I found when doing this, I wasn't looking for my name specifically. You can look up your own name if you have some different podcasts, or maybe you forgot about a podcast you did. In this case, there's 32 results, so maybe half of those or so would be legit for stuff that I've done. But You can research music supervisors. Rich Roach and Kevin Pooh and Cessa Coronado. Come on over to YouTube. You can see what I'm looking at here on the screen. This is a platform that I'm using to research music supervisors and get insights from them. So let's say, for example, there's a music supervisor. Tyler Perry's music supervisor. This is not the person I was looking up. I can't share who I was looking up because that was for a specific project. But for example, Tyler Perry's music supervisor, his name is Joel High. I don't know if it's going to have all of it. It's actually Joel C. High. Maybe we have to put in Joel High. Or even better, you know what? I'm thinking of this live while doing this. If you have any questions, also drop them in the chat here on YouTube, and I'll see if I can get to them. So Joel Smith, that's not him. Joel, this one might be a not so much of a good search. Maybe because that C there. Let me just do Joel High. Let's see what the results are there. Joel Osteen. So I don't know if he does a lot of podcasts. Okay, let's go the other way. Let's look up music supervisor and see what podcasts show up. And you can go by episodes. So here you go. You can start going down this rabbit hole and start seeing, okay, Ari Hurstan, he has actually some great interviews with music supervisors. You can go to Edith. I haven't heard of this one. I don't know. This looks like pretty good. This was 4 weeks ago also. Ari has some great episodes actually from months ago. But you can start go down the rabbit hole, music supervisor at Playtone. And then what you can do, for example, Sync Gems, I know that's a great podcast to check out. You can be like, oh, I want to just check out all the episodes of Sync Gems and then go down the rabbit hole and listen to all the episodes of Sync Gems. There's some here that I haven't heard of, but music supervisor Brian Reitzel, or Reitzel, speaks volumes. Maybe you want to check that one out. So this is not how I used this earlier. I was actually looking up a direct name. So if you have a direct name, you can try that. But if you just want to do a broad search and just find out music supervisors, you can just look up music supervisors and look through all the 10,000 results. But that's just a great way for me personally. I was trying to get insight into a specific music supervisor to see their sort of workflow, their methodology, how they're finding music, and a lot of these episodes. Sometimes, not a lot of them. Sometimes, maybe during the episode, close to the beginning, close to the end. Sometimes in the middle, doesn't really specifically say where. Those music supervisors say the best way to get music to them for the projects they're working on. So a lot of times, I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of interviews, a lot of YouTube shows. Sometimes in the episode, the host, in this case Ari, might say, what's the best way for a music creator or producer or a singer or songwriter to get music to you? And they might say, you can email me here, or you can send me a disco link here, or you can go to my company's website at synclicensingwebsite.com, whatever, gmail.com, or you can email us. They give you instructions on how to submit music and the projects they're working on. So let's say you take an episode, you take an hour to listen to the episode, you get all this insight from a specific music supervisor. Let's say you do that, once a day. By the end of a month, you have 30, leads, or at least 30 more insights into music supervisor, their methodology. I've been doing this before. I didn't know this website until today, but I have subscribed to a lot of podcasts in the sync space and in the trailer space, and I've taken notes as I'm listening to these episodes of, music supervisors, of projects they're working on, of, trailer, tips and tricks and things like that. I'm making notes. I'm going to scenes if they mention specific scenes and specific songs that I'm watching. So a lot of times when I'm listening to an episode, it might take me, let's say the episode is an hour long. It might take me 2 hours to listen to it, because they might say, so the way we use music in this scene, and then I'll pause the episode and I'll try to go find the scene, or find a clip of the scene and the music, or find the music that was used if it's available somewhere, to listen to it, to give my ear that reference point. So that is listen notes. And again, this is for me, this is a way for me to get my ear trained on the music that music supervisors are putting in their projects, but it's also a great way for me to get insight about the music supervisors, because as I said earlier, I'm making those direct connections with music supervisors. That's just how I've been approaching this. That Jones Boy Harm Dog, thank you for tuning in. Jump on over to YouTube. You can see what I'm looking at. Penny Beats. I haven't heard anyone talk about this site. Not that anyone hasn't, just people that I've been following in the sync space. I haven't heard them talk about it this way. But this is a great way to find specifically podcasts that have episodes featuring music supervisors, and you can go tap in. For example, there's no way that I would catch up on this podcast by itself, because it's 439 episodes. There's no way I'm gonna, and if they're each, an hour long, that's 439 hours. I'm not gonna catch up to that. But maybe there's a specific music supervisor on an episode that I want to, check out. Maybe I want to check out the music supervisor for The Handmaid's Tale and see what Maggie, has to talk about her work on those shows. And I can tap in on that. Jump on over to YouTube. If you're on Instagram, click the link for the YouTube to join the YouTube so you can see what I'm looking at. But this is the website. I just found this today, as I mentioned, while doing research on a music supervisor, and I wanted to get more insight into their workflow. And as I mentioned, some of these podcasts, they tell you how to email them, how to send music to them. So it does take time. It does take research. This is part of that whole research thing that happens. Let me make sure I'm going on a whole tangent. But for me, it's been great because I've been focusing the last few weeks on doing custom music for projects, for briefs, and doing 10, 20 tracks in some cases that were not made before within a week for a specific project or film or video game or TV show, and going directly to the music supervisors, because the libraries that I work with, some of them are limited on how many songs they can send into the brief. Whereas if I go directly to the music supervisor, they might listen to all 20 songs or all 10 songs. So that is, Jimena, thank you for tuning in. Brian, thank you for tuning in. Jump on over to YouTube. You can see this website that I'm looking at. That is why I'm doing more research specifically on music supervisors, and of course, putting them on panels at events. I just heard from NAMM about NAMM 2025. So hopefully it might be scaled back based on the last couple of years, because it is less days next year. So I won't have as much time for panels, but at least want to put together a great panel for at least one, hopefully 2, 3 panels for you all. As you saw what happened last year and what happened this year with the panels, and hopefully some other events. What's up, Brian? So this website. So again, if I type in my name again, I'm gonna do the vein search again for those who missed it. Actually, I did the Fingaz. I'm gonna do Marcus Manderson now and see what shows up. And again, there's that one article, that one that I really hate. But St. Jim's, like I said, that was great. Follow Your Dream, that was an incredible podcast. The Make Music Income podcast. You know what? I wish I might be able to just bookmark this page on my site, but the only one is this one. This is not me. If I could delete this from the results, I would, but this is not me. But someone with the same name, Convicted Man, plead the fifth, wasn't me. But everything else, the music stuff, the Composely, that is me. And then it starts, this doesn't have the full first and last name. Hanging at the house. I actually got to do another episode of that. That was 2 years ago. But again, like, you can dive in. Sync Report, that they were big during the pandemic. Let's go to the second page. Let's see what other results there are. There are podcasts that I forgot about. No, that's not me. Language of Music. I did do this one, the Hero Show. Okay, I did that one a year ago. I was about to say I didn't even do that. Tim, that's not me. So maybe I can do parentheses at the top to get exact results. I think we're getting down the weeds now. None of this is me, so we might be out of the loop. Jazz, I don't think that's me. So 1 or 2 pages. If you want to do a search on yourself, if you do a lot of podcast interviews, search yourself, see what shows up. There might be podcasts you forgot about. Now we're getting to sports. None of this is me. So there might be podcasts you forgot about. What was that last one? Nope, that's not me. Nope. If I do the parentheses, Marcus Manderson, let's see if that does the more curated results. 6 results. There you go. Of course, the one that I don't like, but those are probably the 6. I think I saw a little bit more when I just did Marcus. And let me do the other one, Marcus. And this is where you can go in and try different iterations of the name of a music supervisor. Again, I didn't see Joel High. If someone's on the chat right now, if you want to drop Beans, thank you for tuning in. You're the only Chris Pratt. Yeah, good thing you're the only Chris Pratt. That's hilarious. Jump on over to YouTube. If you are on Instagram or YouTube, give me a name of a music supervisor. I want to look them up to see what shows up for that result. So if you have a music supervisor in mind, let me know. We'll see what podcast shows up for their name. But again, this is a great way to do that research, to dive in, to get some insight. Listen to, hey, if you want to connect to someone on a show, maybe you can type in a show. Let's type in, I don't know, Family Guy, which that might get some different results. You know what? Let's type in Family Guy music. And let's see what happens. Okay, so nothing too much there. But again, this is just things that you can try on this site. Okay, I Am Jimenez says Gary Calamar. Let's look up Gary Calamar. We'll just look up his name. Jump on over to YouTube if you're not seeing what I'm seeing, if you're on Instagram. And here we go. The first podcast is called In Sync, and this is fairly recent. This is 2 months ago. So that might be a good episode to check out, to see what Gary's working on currently, to see his current methods, his insights into sync these days. But then you can also go back to 2 years ago where he was talking with Nathan Barr, who's a composer. I do know him, about True Blood. Or you can go back to another 2 years ago. So he has a couple episodes here. Again, look at the time if you want to just get some insight into his journey. I would typically, I don't know if you can filter by relevance, but you can also filter by date. So maybe if you want to just look at the ones he's did like a month ago. That was a month ago. This was 2 months ago. Louisa, come on over to YouTube, click the link, check out the website I'm looking at, sharing this resource that you can use to research music supervisors. I can even go deeper. I might have to do a workshop on music supervisor research and how I go about connecting with them on LinkedIn, because that's actually that's a different level of connecting with music supervisors. And I use the free version of LinkedIn, even though I can do a lot more with the paid version. But LinkedIn is, it's not expensive, but it's not exactly the cheapest. But again, you see Gary Calamar that showed up, True Blood, NSYNC. That might be, maybe I can click this episode or this show title, and I can see what the show is about. It is produced by Gotham West Studios. It was last updated in June, so fairly recent. Maybe they do every month or so, or every 2 months. And we can look into this podcast, about the podcast. It is a podcast for anyone who loves a perfect on-screen needle drop. That is a term in sync licensing. If you're not familiar with sync, that is what that means. And then you can just do some research on the show. The latest episode was The Departed. Okay, they had previous episodes, Princess Diaries. Looks like they do almost every week here. Drive, Night Call. But yeah, so again, you can go down the rabbit hole in sync. Or let's go here. Let's type in sync licensing. Let's see what podcasts show up for sync licensing. LinkedIn is definitely a powerful platform for networking, Brian. So you have this. You have the Sync Licensing Minute. I do listen to that one. You have Female Entrepreneur Musician with Bree Noble. I haven't heard of that one. Of course, I mentioned Ari's Take earlier. You have Modern Musician. You have this with Ashley. You know what's crazy about that? I had a chat with Ashley a couple weeks ago. She's incredible. She was doing a one-on-one chat. So definitely check that out if she's still offering that, where you can pay a nominal fee for 30 minutes or an hour of her time. I ended up talking with her for a little longer. But Ashley's incredible, and she will be a guest at the Level Up Sync Conference. If you're watching on Instagram, comment the word level up, and I'll send you information to check out the Level Up Sync Conference. She will be one of the music supervisors, in addition to 3 other music supervisors on that panel. And there will be some other panels also, as well. She Will for Will, Diamond Keeps Shining, DJ Austin, Nothing But Music James. Thank you all for tuning in. Jump on over to YouTube. You can see the website I'm looking at. But Ashley is an incredible music supervisor. So if you go to the site, type in sync licensing, type in the names of music supervisors. For example, we just saw Ashley. I just talked about her. So let me, Neumei, let me type in her name. Ashley. Let's see what other Neumeister episodes. Did I spell that right? Neumeister. Let's see what other episodes show up there that she's been on, including, I hope to have her on an episode of my podcast also. Here we go. We got some Sync Secrets Revealed. We have some Playing Well with the Boys. We have healing. Okay, so I do know she does a lot on the healing space as well. So that's actually unique for her as a music supervisor. So there's True Music. So yeah, there's some episodes there. Let's go back to Sync Licensing and see what shows up. Again, I'll probably end this in a few minutes, but if you have any questions, drop them in the comments here. Nothing But Music James, what's going on? If you're still in the DMV, I've been doing some meetups in the DMV, sync licensing meetups. I did one at Durrani's a couple weeks ago, so I'll be doing another one probably in September. So let's look up the podcast that focuses on sync licensing. Sync Licensing Minute. Again, I've listened to all those episodes. I've listened to Sync Gems. It might be kind of tough to catch up on 77 episodes, but definitely check it out. The one thing I would warn about listening to these podcasts is if you listen to them from like a year, 2 years ago, people change jobs, they change positions. So I do know some of the guests on some of these episodes, they might have been at one company when they did the episode, but now they're at another company. But you can still get insight into the sync licensing space, and some of these are great. Music licensing. This is a new podcast. I think it started less than a year ago, but they have 29 episodes in. Mine started less than a year ago also, but I'm at episode 80. This is incredible. Sync Beast is insane. And you know what? I'm gonna have to tag all these people in this post. Sync Beast. Shout out to Graham Barton. He's making 6 figures from Sync. Incredible guy. I need to catch up with him. Sync Music Mondays. I'm part of them. We actually host a conference in January. I host a conference with the Sync Music Monday team, and it is called what is it called? Sync Music Success, I believe, is the name of that conference. So stay tuned for that. We're also doing monthly chats discussing sync from that community as well. Sync My Music, Jesse Josephson, a staple in the sync space. I've been following him for a few years now. He also does a conference so far it's been in California, annually every June, I believe. And it's really more of a niche conference where a handful of people, maybe like 50, 100 people show up. And then he has music supervisors coming out. He has sync libraries, sync agents. They're doing listening sessions. They're having dinners. So what's great about going to events like that are more smaller is that you don't have to deal with, some of the big events that I do also assist with, NAMM and AES and hopefully South by Southwest, where you have hundreds of thousands of people showing up or 50,000 people. It's sometimes hard to cut through there. When you go to an event where there's like 50, 200, even 300 people, you can sort of cut through that mix. So when I do events, those smaller events is a great way to connect with those music supervisors. And then you can learn more about them by going to this website, listen notes, and researching them. All right, Sync Center podcast. I didn't know about that one. Haven't heard of that one. The last episode looks like it was 11 months ago. My wife just texted me. You can see that up there. I'm not hiding it either. So let me put that on my iPad so I can answer her. She said she didn't order no Skittles. We did a delivery from Walmart today. I'm going to have to go to 7-Eleven and get her some Skittles, even though 7-Eleven be a grip, man. I'm going to have to go to dollar store. Mixed by Raiden. Thank you for tuning in. Guap Parent. All right, so let me keep going. Make Music Income podcast. I do listen to that. That is Eric Copeland. I have not listened to all 124 episodes. Actually, no, I haven't listened to all 124. I maybe started like a year ago. But that's a great podcast to learn some insights, not just into sync licensing, but different ways where you can make money. Eric is an educator. I actually was on a recent episode of his podcast a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. So definitely check that out from Eric Copeland. The Music Industry 360, not familiar with that. I am familiar with symphonic distribution. Hold on, my wife is texting. I was telling her that I'm live in the I'm telling you the text is showing up on the live. Jody, license your music. Okay, I do Jody Friedman and Michael Elsner. They were actually at NAMM, but I've been following them for a couple of years. Mitch, thank you for tuning in. Been following them for a couple of years, and they have a, what is it? I forgot the name of their platform, but they have different courses, elite music coaching. I think it's called Sync Titans. I might be wrong. Someone correct me there. But they have a podcast as well. I've listened to some of their episodes. So you have 3 pages here. I'm not going to go through all of them. I actually went to the first page. You have 3 pages here of Sync podcasts you can tap into. Some of them are 20 episodes. Some of them are 77 episodes, but you have hours and hours of footage. I don't think my podcast is on here. Actually, my podcast is only on YouTube. So this podcast that you're watching on YouTube now, it's only on YouTube. I hope to bring it over to the other platforms. And when we get to 100 episodes, this is episode 80. So I have 20 episodes to go. And then I have a plan to migrate things over. All 100 episodes to the podcast things, and then it'll show up here. My podcast is called Syncrets To Success. D. Lopez says, thank you for the jammies. Question, of course. Yeah, D. Lopez, ask your question, then I got to get out of here and get my wife some Skittles from 7-Eleven so that she can have a good night, and so that I can have a good night. But yeah, ask your question right now if you got it, D. Lopez. If not, I'm gonna end this thing. But check out listennotes.com. If you're watching on Instagram, you got to come on over to YouTube. Check out listennotes.com. Go up top, type in the name of a music supervisor or the name of a sync library. So there you go. All right, let me hit the stop share. Actually, I don't know if the messages are popping up. Cool. But if you have any questions, again, D. Lopez, I'll hang around for like another 2 minutes. Drop your question in a comment. If you have a question in regards to samples and licensing. If the question is, should you or can you? No. Basically, obviously, if you're like Kanye or someone like that, and you're getting synced, that is usually not a problem, because if they're going to place a Kanye song, they have the budget for all that. But as an independent artist, I stay away from sampling unless I am asked specifically, which I've never been asked, and only for trailers have I been asked to trailerize something, but I've never been asked to sample something for a sync placement. I keep hearing about sync companies requesting music. I do not want music that samples. My question about this. No, I wouldn't even do royalty free. I would do, and I wouldn't do samples. Of course, not sampling big artists. Don't sample like Michael Jackson and try to get that place. Just find a producer, or if you are a producer, just produce the music. Maybe you can use, if you do use, like a lot of them don't like spice loops. If you do use loops, flip it so that don't just put a beat under the loop. Flip it, mangle it, twist it, like pause. Figure out a way to manipulate that thing so that it can be, totally different. So if somebody else uses the same loop, they can't tell that you used the loop. But for the most part, I say stay away from loops. Create your own. I have sample loops on my site that I sell, but yeah, just stay away from those sample loops. What you can do is get what's called one shots, which are like just the drum sound or like a kick sound or snare sound. You can use those one shots. In some cases, some libraries allow you to use drum loops, but for the most part, I stay away from sample. At least the melody loops, I stay away from, and I just use my own, or I make my own. But yeah. If you're adding to arrangements, again, it could be tricky. If it's like, if it's an underlayer, it could be hit or miss, because the algorithms could still detect it. But yeah, if you're adding other stuff to it and around it, that's cool. But I would still say manipulate it, change the key, pitch shift it, do some chopping it up. Don't just use it as a straight loop, even if it's like low in the mix. As don't just use it as a loop that you got from the site. If it's from, like Splice or something, I believe they're supposed to be royalty free. But I've also heard of issues where some people have music up there that is not exactly royalty free, or it was taken from like another sample pack. So I've seen issues like that over time. Rarely happens, but still, even with AI, I beta tested a lot of AI sample makers. And I did one where I did a bunch of regenerations, and I was starting to hear the same sample that I was hearing at the beginning. Most people aren't going to do like hundreds of, regenerations in like a couple days. But I was like, I've heard that loop, that sounds familiar. So things just get tricky with all of that, sample loops and stuff. So just be careful. That's all I can say. You can be inspired by the loops. Maybe you can use a loop to build your beat around the loop, and then remove the loop when you're done. Maybe do something like that, and see if it still, sounds good without the loop in there, which it might. So there are things that you can try to use the loop to help enhance the beat or whatever, or help to create the beat, and then take it out when you're done. All right, I'm gonna get out of here, get my wife some Skittles. But I wanted to show this website, listennotes.com. So you can type in the name of a music supervisor, the name of a sync library, do your research, find podcasts. If you're interested in other things, maybe there's cooking podcasts or whatever. But this is a great website and resource that, as I mentioned, I haven't heard anyone else talk about. So, and I found it today just in my research, trying to find out information about one specific music supervisor for a project. And I found a podcast interview, actually a couple podcasts with that person through Listen Notes. One of the Google searches brought up the site, and here we are, and I'm sharing it with you. So check it out. A great resource for doing research. Again, it takes time. You got to take notes. You got to do some of this admin stuff and the research, but hopefully for all of us, it'll be worth it all in the end. Until the next episode, now I definitely got to go. Be safe and be